Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back another video day. And today, the Houston Texans have decided to waive Deontay Johnson, one-time Pro Bowler. Signed with the Texans right before Christmas. Signed with the Texans, and this was right after the Tank Dell injury. And there was a lot of hope that Deontay Johnson could come in and be a help to this team. And he did get some action for the Texans in their final game of the regular season. Got targeted 4 times, 2 receptions for 12 receiving yards. So it didn't look terrible in his first game as a Texan, and then in this last playoff game for the Texans, going up against the Chargers, he did have 1 reception for 12 receiving yards, only targeted once. There was a lot of routes that Deontay Johnson, a lot of routes that Deontay Johnson ran that he was wide open and CJ Stroud didn't throw to him, and apparently that upset him. And this is what reports have said, is that Deontay Johnson, after the game, in the locker room when everybody was celebrating, did cause some issues, and that's not what this team needs right now. When you're about to go into a big playoff game, trying to knock off the number 1 seed that has won 2 Super Bowls in a row, you don't need a locker room cancer. And Deontay Johnson has a lot of talent as a wide receiver. This is a guy in 2021 was a Pro Bowler, having almost 1,200 receiving yards with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year with Pittsburgh, had 717 receiving yards in only 13 games. And then in 2022, had 900 receiving yards in 17 games. And then this year with Carolina, had a terrific start to the season with 400 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns in Carolina's first 7 games. But it seems no matter where he goes, whether it's Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore, or in Houston, he has talent, and he's a great wide receiver, but he is a locker room cancer. And that's why he's going to continue to bounce off roster after roster. I think it's obvious he cares more about himself than the team. I know, obviously, he's upset he didn't get the ball. I think there are a lot of throws that CJ Stroud, well, for starters, I think he was upset. For starters, he was upset that he didn't play a lot. But when he did play, he'd get open and CJ wouldn't throw the ball to him. Now, that is on CJ, right? Of course. CJ had many times to throw to Deontay Johnson and didn't connect to him, didn't throw the ball to him. But it's not like the Texans lost this game against the Chargers this week. If the Texans would have lost the game and Deontay Johnson was mad about it, I don't think that's much of a problem. It shows he's not a great locker room guy, but you'd get it, why he'd be upset if it was a playoff loss. But no, the Texans won 32-12. This team dominated the Los Angeles Chargers. There's no need at all to act like that after a playoff win. And we can talk about other guys that didn't get a lot of targets or didn't get a lot of receptions. Do you see them complaining? Like Xavier Hutchinson made the play that changed this game for the Houston Texans and really got the offense going again. He didn't have another catch in the rest of the game. We haven't heard about him complaining or him causing a problem in the locker room. I'll say this. I think Deontay Johnson is more talented than the wide receivers outside of Nico that remain in this locker room. Outside of Nico, you have Robert Woods and you have Xavier Hutchinson and you have John Mechie. I think Deontay Johnson is probably the best out of the, compared to those 3. But he's not much better, and you have the locker room issues that he has and causing a fuss after a playoff win. I'd much rather have an Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, or Robert Woods than Deontay Johnson if he's going to act like that. So I'm perfectly fine with Nico Collins' wide receiver mates being Hutchinson, Mechie, and Woods if Deontay Johnson wants to cause locker room issues after a playoff win. And the Texans were 100% right by cutting him. At first, I was upset to learn that the Texans were letting go of Deontay Johnson, but learning the locker room issues, I am so happy the Texans made this move. Because the Texans don't need distractions like Deontay Johnson going into a game trying to beat the number 1 seed and a team that has won 2 Super Bowls in a row. Don't need that. Let me know your thoughts on the Texans letting go of Deontay Johnson in the comment section, and peace out.